Sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink. As I sat on the porch of my little cabin, nestled in the hills, it was one of those evenings where the world felt like it was taking a deep breath, slowing down just enough to let you catch up. The air carried the scent of pine and damp earth, a reminder of the rain that had passed through earlier, leaving everything glistening and new. I had a mug of chamomile tea in my hands, its warmth seeping into my palm, and I could feel the day's worries starting to loosen their grip. This place, my little escape, wasn't much. Just a small wooden cabin with creaky floors and windows that rattle when the wind picked up. But it was mine for the weekend, a retreat from the endless notifications and deadlines that seemed to define life lately. I'd driven up here on a whim, craving silence and space. And now, sitting here with nothing but the sound of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl, I wondered why I didn't do this more often. The thing about being out here is that time feels different. It stretches and bends, like a lazy river winding through the countryside. There's no rush, no need to check the clock every 5 minutes. I'd spent the afternoon wandering around the Nimbai Trail, not really aiming for anywhere specific. I followed the path as it curved through a grove of cedar trees, their branches forming a canopy that filtered the sunlight into golden patches on the forest floor. Every now and then, I'd stop to pick up a smooth stone or run my fingers over the rough bark of a tree, just because it felt good to touch something real. I thought about how we spend so much time chasing things, success, money, approval. But out here, none of that seemed to matter. The trees didn't care about my job title. The birds didn't ask for my resume. They just existed, singing their songs and rustling through the leaves. And somehow, that simplicity felt like a gift. I'd been running so fast for so long that I'd forgotten what it was like to just be, to sit still and listen, to let the world carry on without trying to control it. As the sky darkened and the first stars began to peek through, I leaned back in my chair, the wood creaking under me. I thought about the people I'd left behind in the city, friends who were probably at some trendy bar right now, colleagues still answering emails at this hour. And here I was, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea, watching fireflies blink like tiny lanterns in the distance. It wasn't that I didn't love my life back there. I did, in its own chaotic way. But this quiet, this space, it was like a soft reset, a chance to remember who I was beneath all the noise. I started thinking about my grandmother, who used to tell me stories about her childhood on a farm. She'd talk about mornings spent picking blackberries, or evening watching storms roll in from the porch. She always said the best things in life were the ones you couldn't buy. A sunset, a good laugh, the feeling of cool grass under your feet. I used to roll my eyes, thinking she was just being nostalgic. But now, sitting here, with the night wrapping around me like a warm hug, I got it. She wasn't talking about the past. She was talking about moments. Moments that make you feel alive, connected, whole. The wind picked up a little, rustling the leaves, and carrying the faint scent of the wildflowers. I closed my eyes, letting the sounds wash over me. The crickets were in full chorus now, joined by the low croak of a frog somewhere near the creek. I could hear the distant trickle of water too, a gentle reminder that life was always moving, always flowing. Even when I felt stuck, there was something comforting about that. Something that made my problems seem smaller, like they were just ripples in a much bigger stream. I thought about staying out here all night, just to see how many stars I could count. But the chill in the air nudged me toward the cabin. I stood up, stretching my arms above my head, and took one last look at the sky. Now a deep indigo, dotted with pinpricks of light. The world felt vast out here, but not overwhelming. It was the kind of vastness that made you feel like you were part of something bigger, something that didn't demand anything from you, except to show up and breathe. Inside, the cabin was cozy, lit by a single lamp and the glow of a small fire I'd built earlier. I curled up on the couch with a book, one of those novels you promise yourself you'll read, but never find the time for. Back home, I'd have been scrolling my phone, jumping from one app to another. But here, I let myself sink into the pages, losing track of time, until my eyelids grew heavy as I drifted towards sleep. I thought about how rare it is to feel this kind of peace. Not the kind that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from letting go, from trusting that the world will keep turning, even you step away for a moment. Out here, in the quiet, with nothing but the stars and the trees for company, I felt like I was remembering something important about slowing down, about finding joy in the small things, about being enough, just as I am. And maybe that's the real magic of a place like this. It doesn't give you answers, it just gives you space. Space to think, to feel, to be. And sometimes, that's all you need to find your way back to yourself.